Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports as ordered. And these sounds are brought to you by the one and only, the world famous, the world renowned, born in Texas, raised in VA, representing New Jerusalem. And he got a message for Gail King, Katy Perry, and Lauren Sanchez that John Glenn was the first American astronaut to orbit the Earth by way of New Jersey, by the way. And what y'all did, this ain't horseshoes. He is Mr. Logical. Don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
Then you got I, your unorthodox statistician, equals minus 25 squared. We up in here. We got playoff previews. We're going to talk about the play-in. I'm going left so much you thought I was southpaw with a liquid death in hand. I go by the name of 25. So like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. So, this week, Mr. Logical, there's been something going on referred to as the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the NBA Cup or in-season tournament.
Yeah.
Even though they're both stupid. So that's the one thing they do have in common. It's basketball and it's stupid. So, Mr. Logical, real quick, I know generally speaking, you are usually the longer-winded one of us two. But
I am.
But just bear with me for a second.
All right.
So this year is the perfect reason of why I don't like the play-in. This season played it out perfectly than I could have ever explained it, right? Because when I look at this, you're playing for the 7 and 8 seeds. The Miami Heat, even though they beat the Bulls last night, they finished 4 games behind the 7 seed, 3 games behind the 8. And it ain't just the East. Look in the West. The Sacramento Kings finished 8 games behind the Warriors and Grizzlies, who were in 7-8 coming into this play-in tournament. Dallas 9 games behind both of them. Why are they playing for a spot in the playoffs?
Last year, generally on this show, I've been pro play-in because I looked at the entertainment aspect from March through April. Because, like you said, the Kings, 8 games back of 8th place when the season ended. They probably were hovering around 8 to 9 or 10 for most of the time post All-Star break. So you might rest a player here. You're still charging full price for the tickets. Sabonis might not play. This other guy, Malik Monk might not play because of, a tight hamstring or something like that. Whereas with the play-in, you kind of give the players something to play for because, listen, we're in 10 right now, but we stay in 10. We play it out. Maybe we have a chance to knock off 9 and then subsequently knock off 7 or 8 to get the 8th spot. I used to like it. Now I don't. This is a prime year of why I don't like it. Because I feel like the Warriors and Grizzlies, they played themselves into a position to where they kept enough distance away from the people behind them that these people shouldn't be able to catch up when they pause the race. All right, you guys can catch up now. Now start from here. It's no, I've outpaced you for months. For the last 30 games, my record's been better than yours. I extended whatever lead. We started off at 0-0. I have an 8-game lead on you. You shouldn't just be able to trump my, that's a 10th of the season.
Right.
So you get to trick off 10 games and then get to scramble back at the end. And now I'm out here playing for my playoff life when I've already done my work. I've already done all the work. You
sound like me when we first had this conversation.
And that's the thing. I think originally the NBA wasn't expecting Golden State and the Lakers to be like the first team in the play-in. So they were like, oh damn. But they were like, well, now we got LeBron playing every night. We got stuff playing every night. We're selling tickets, so forth and so on. But I mean, if you think about it, well, the Suns are just way out of it. And they pretty much gave up. But if you look in the East, the Raptors were like, yeah, we're done. They didn't try to fight for 10. So like I said, I just feel like the play-in, if they can change it and go do away with it for next season, I'd be all for it. Let these teams 9 and 10 fight to get 8. And if they can't make it to 8, then they got to look their fans in the face when they're still charging 175 for a ticket when they are, you know, 30 and 42 after 72 games.
Yeah.
That's on them. That's on the organization. The NBA can't take on all those responsibilities. The NBA from the office, from the top of the mountain, can't try to legislate entertainment from the top when the people who are doing it need to facilitate that.
Yeah, and the Kings, Orlando, and Atlanta had 40 wins. Everybody else didn't. And it's not just this year because the first year of the play in, the Spurs finished 5 games, behind the 9 seed. So they were the 10 seed and they finished 5 games behind number 9. In the East, I mean, in the second year, the Pelicans, they were 10 games behind the 7 and 6 behind the 8. And then the Spurs finished 2 games behind them. Last year.
And the Pelicans almost beat the Lakers.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, last year, if Zion didn't get hurt. Yeah.
Like the Bulls like last year, the Bulls finished 8 games behind Miami, 7 games behind Philly. And these are the teams that we're advocating for. So think about it like this. This is how I like to think about it. When the college football playoff expanded and we went to 12 teams, the talk was, hey, there's not 12 teams that can win this title. Like how many, once you get past number 5 or number 6, who's going to win? Boise can't win the title. So I'm sitting up here looking at this play-in tournament, and the NBA is even worse because that's a 1-game scenario where an upset could happen. We're talking about a 9 or 10 potentially getting into the playoffs, and you got to beat OKC or Boston 4 times?
Like
I think not. You know what I'm saying? Or Cleveland.
Like, so Miami could be the 8th seed after tomorrow night, correct?
Yes.
Miami has 37 wins on the season.
Yes.
They're going to play 64 win Cleveland.
27-game difference.
And I know the Hawks are at 40 wins.
Still under 500.
But at least they're at under 500. But at least that format is like, hey, we got to get 16 teams and we got to get 16 teams in. We're not making special provisions to get this team that's under 500 in. You locked in. It's like the leagues for some reason are looking at the potential of making more money versus the potential for real competitiveness. Like the NFL, when they went to 17 games, I'm like, why are you at an odd number? Why? Why are you playing an odd number of games? Like, it just blows my mind I don't like the odd number of games.
I like it because it, like, in most cases, you should end up with some kind of definition or tiebreaker. Because, like, with a 16-game schedule, you could both finish 8 and 8, and then we got to try to figure this shit out.
Well,
like, yeah, you can still finish 9 and 8, but
common opponents, so forth and so on. I just figure like they wanted 18 games for money. It wasn't a competitive thing. It wasn't as if the 16 games didn't give you. The 16 games gave you. It wasn't a snapshot of who's good, who's bad. It was a full movie of who was good and who was bad, and the playoffs was the extra credit scene at the end of the movie. It was like you got the whole story. These 16 games gave you everything, but for more money, they just add this one game. NBA, for more money, they added the play-in. And I get it, like you want to make sure the fans have the experience, but what's the point? There's still going to be teams that are terrible. You can't do anything. When are you going to have a tournament for the teams that don't make the playoffs?
So
And
you're
that's
the
gonna be another that's gonna be like an
hey, you know what
NIT.
though? You know what though? Like, I don't want to give Adam Silver any ideas, but you could do that for draft picks. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing about it, right? Whoever doesn't get in this playoff out of the play-in goes right into the draft lottery. So,
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing. Like
get rid of that too.
they we had a saying in the Air Force, you probably heard it before, fix it till it's broke.
Yeah.
Where it's like, listen, this process is working just fine. Like, nah, I think we can make it. I was not necessarily in an argument at work, but I remember we had like a transition of leadership. Some people came out, some people came in, and they were looking at the process from like a helicopter view, and they were just kind of looking, they're like, oh, I can save that. And I remember I got to sit in my chair with a guy. I'm like, listen, you're not saving me any time by trying to change all this. You're making it longer for me because now I got to comb through this this unprofessional looking document to
Right.
find this information. It's like only thing that's going to make this flow smoothly is if you task the people, they know they're being tasked, and they have the training and medical stuff up to date, and we can put this stuff together. That's the holdup. The holdup isn't me putting these PDF files together. Like that's not the problem. You're trying to fix the wrong problem. I'm like, you're not safe. He's like, we could save like 30 minutes. So 30 minutes for what? What are we doing with that 30 minutes saved? The flight is in 2 days. Why am I trying to save 30 minutes on Wednesday when they don't get on the jet until Friday? Like,
Right.
what are we in a hurry for? Like, let's make it right, and then they can figure it out on the back end. I think that's what the NBA is doing. It's like, yeah,
So why not?
teams need to be competitive. They need to draft better. They need to not fire coaches. They need to be not like Phoenix is going to have 3 coaches getting paid like $75 million over the next like few years.
And still
Like
got to
you
hire
need to
another
fix.
one.
And you got to hire another one, and he's going to take a mean ass deal because like, listen, I see what you did with the last 3 dudes.
And like, why not just have? If you wanted to do this, why not just do it NCAA tournament style, where 7 plays 10, 8 plays 9, and then you just reseed if necessary. So if 7 wins, they get 7. If 10 and 8 win, whatever, like, just do something like that. Even I don't want that either, but I'm just saying,
That's what I'm
like,
saying.
I don't
That's
even
what I
like the
mean.
format of it. But see, the NBA
We're
got
trying
lucky
to
though. To your
yeah,
point,
we're trying to figure out we're trying to make sense out of what is essentially nonsense.
but to your point though, the NBA got lucky because this is the Warriors' 4th time in the play-in. The Lakers have been in there 2 or 3 times. So one, if there was no play-in, then somebody like the Lakers and Warriors go out earlier. You know what I mean? But the Warriors just won their first play-in game when they beat
Or they're
Memphis.
locked into 7, like for instance, the Western Conference this year, let's pull it up real quick.
Yeah, so
All
you
right,
got
like we said.
OKC 1, you got Houston 2.
So right now, all the playoff spots, so Grizzlies are 9 games ahead of the Mavericks, right?
Yes. And they're playing tomorrow with a chance for the Mavericks to get in.
So in the play-in scenario, when LeBron and the Lakers and Steph and the Warriors were in it for like the original year, they had to keep playing those games. Whereas this year, the Mavs behind 9 games against the Grizzlies, maybe Ja rest. He rests for a couple of games. And I think that's what the NBA kind of benefited from is like, okay, the superstar players are in this playoff window or play-in window. So now they got to play. So we get more highlights of Ja, we get more highlights of Steph and so forth and so on. But what happens when he really needs rest? He, whomever he is, whether it's Ant, Ja, Steph, whoever is there,
I
and
mean, Butler's got a bum wheel right now.
they pull up lame, hamstring, rolling ankle, or just how it is
Ja rolled his
sometimes
ankle the other night.
when sometimes you're just tired and because you needed that rest, but you gotta play. You make a mistake, or somebody, just because you're not necessarily forcing them to play extra games, but you're not allowing them to like prepare for this next round, which is also your moneymaker. So I just feel like whatever money they're getting from the play-in energy and the play-in atmosphere that they created, I think it can't trump the playoff atmosphere because that's what most people lock in. If you think about college basketball, most people aren't college basketball fans till like March 7th, March 8th. That's when everybody starts posting about, this is gonna be the team this year. This is gonna be the upset. I'm picking St. Mary's.
And that's why they
All that.
tried to do the in-season tournament, but all they did was paint courts and wear weird uniforms.
Like I said, I liked the court thing. It might be a little too much. But once again, I understand that piece because that's in the middle of the season. You're butted up against football, college football. I get that you wanna capture the holiday spirit, the football. Everybody's kind of like it's a lot of time. People at home. A lot of people spend a lot of time watching the TV. It's getting colder around the country, so you want to be able to draw the attention of the fan. I understand that part
I
in
understand it
December.
too, but
But
I
right
understand
now,
why they're doing it.
you have the format. You have NFL conversations. You got early season baseball, and then you have hockey. Hockey doesn't promote to the entire country to the exhaustion that the NBA does. You have this, like you are dancing in the middle of the circle. You don't need to do the backflip and the split. Just keep doing your dance. Everybody's watching you. Just keep doing your dance. But they're like, nah, we gotta do the split. I gotta wear the shiny vest. I gotta do the Michael Jackson. Like you're doing too much. You already have all the attention on you because this is your time. April to June is the NBA's bag because the NFL can. We have talks about the NFL, but you can't beat Donovan Mitchell going up against Trey Young, and one guy gets 40, another guy gets 44. You have that already built into your league. You don't need this other stuff to try to matriculate in
Well,
to
that's why,
create more
like I said,
money.
I understand why they're doing the in-season tournament. I understand why they're doing it. The
Yeah,
problem is that it's the same basketball. So, like for example, FIBA, different rules and all that kind of stuff. You go to the Olympics, it's a different rules and all this kind of stuff like that. Whereas when you're watching the in-season tournament, it's no different than watching any other basketball
but
game
that's
at
but
any other
that's
night
but
of the
that's why
season.
you do the floor and the jersey. You can sell more jerseys, and you sell the trophy idea. Like I said, that I need you to see something different when you look at the NBA in that time because that is that is the quintessential football window. College and NFL, you have to be able to compete because the NFL does like their different jerseys and they have Thursday night, they have Monday night, they have the holidays, like they pretty much take over December. So you have to have something that really stands out. So the floors and the jerseys make sense, but that's in a time where you're actually competing with another league. You're not competing with anybody right now. Right now, you are the biggest show on Broadway and you're worried about the shows that are off Broadway.
Right.
That's my piece. And like I said, this year it could have backfired.
No, 100%. And I mean, we'll see. We just gotta have a play-in that doesn't have stars, I guess, because I mean, essentially you're watching, and I know Orlando's 141, they're 41-41. The Hawks are 40-42, and
42,
then
yeah.
the Kings, I think, 140. So like you have teams that have won 40 games, but what you're telling me is we're marking out over watching mediocre for a couple of nights, for what? Just to see who's going to be led to the slaughter. So, Mr. Logical, with that being said, it is time. It is time for us to talk about the actual playoffs. Now, obviously, we don't know who OKC is matched up with right now. We don't know who Cleveland's matched up with right now. But I'm just going to go ahead and spoiler alert that we're going to pick them to win that series.
Yeah.
Cleveland and Oklahoma City. So I'll just say it like this: if it's Memphis, I give Memphis one game. If it's Dallas, it's a sweep. For
Yes.
the Cavs, they're sweeping either way.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it
So
at that.
that's easy. Those are easy.
So let's start with my favorite series. The series that's closest to me. The Golden State Warriors, game 1, coming down to the Lone Star on Sunday night to play the Houston Rockets. Mr. Logical, are you giving the young boys a puncher's chance?
Absolutely. And I
Oh,
think the piece I'm I'm picking Houston outright. Absolutely. There's no reason for me to think that they're going to be able to overwhelm Houston's defense with the lineup, the offensive lineup that they put out on the floor for Golden State. It just there's not enough players that demand specific defensive planning. Like I can play Jimmy Butler straight up. He's not gonna shoot a lot of threes. So I can play him straight up. I can put our men on him straight up. And then I can defense by committee on Steph, or I put our men on Steph, and then defense by committee on
I was
Jimmy.
gonna say, wouldn't you put Dylan Brooks on Jimmy?
But it's just like, I mean, either way, I just figure I can use one defensive player and have him one-on-one with Jimmy in that offense, because Jimmy doesn't move like Steph and he doesn't threaten you from distance like Steph. Yeah, he gets a lot of foul calls, and if the whistle is flowing, then yeah, I think they have a shot. But 8 seconds left on the shot clock. Steph has to pass the ball to Jimmy. Jimmy's getting crowded. Jimmy has to pass the ball. Whoever that other person is who gets the ball, if it's not Steph or Jimmy, I'm not sure that they're going to be effective in that moment, which is going to happen. You're going to get down to where, because you're going to set up your dribble, everything else. You're going to make you move in 14 seconds. The big is going to show. You're going to have to move the ball. If you get it to Gary Payton the second, he's not shooting. I saw the highlight the other day. Draymond threw him a lob at the rim. He catches it and throws out two-handed overhand pass up to Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield breaks a wide open three. They get the scramble rebound. Steph Fisher three. Audience goes crazy. I'm like, why didn't you just lay the damn ball up? But like it's just like it's so ingrained in them not to shoot the ball. Then Houston's gonna shut that down.
So I want to call this Ime's revenge. You know, he went up against Golden State in 2022, his last year as Boston's coach in the NBA Finals, and hopefully he took some things away from that series, which I believe he has. The questions that I have about this series are: one, are we going to see Jonathan Kuminga? Two,
yeah, he's done. He's done.
Yeah, he might be. Two, but I think they might need him to win this series. Two,
he don't care.
Two.
Listen, these guys are professional. I'm not trying to be an ass, but like, you shitted on me for the last 2 years. You didn't make me the focal point of anything. I've been the verbalized outcast for over 2 years. And now all of a sudden, at the end of April, you're going to call on me because now they're trapping Jimmy and you need somebody young and athletic. I ain't him. My hamstring tight.
All right. So, two, can Houston score in the clutch game-defining moments? Three, what the refs going to be on? And the only reason I bring that up is because I know the refs change game to game. Some call it tic-tac, some call it physical, some let them play, all that kind of stuff. But if you see what I see in this bracket, you could get Lakers Warriors next round. I don't trust these refs.
Oh, you're saying that someone's going to do a little sleight of hand, a little David Blaine, and make sure we get this matchup in the second round.
You know, so the problem for
I don't want to go that far yet until I see a game.
So the problem for Houston is
2 games. I need 2 games.
Two games, which are both in Houston. So I don't know what we're going to get. We got to see what whistle they're going to get.
That's what I'm saying. So like, if I'm getting the allowed physicality that's being managed, where it's like, hey, that's too far. You know, and the free throws are, I don't know how many teams say the free throws are 27 for Golden State and 21 for Houston. All right, that makes sense. But if it's the fourth quarter and Jimmy Butler is shooting 8 free throws and Steph shot 8 and Houston only got 2 and Golden State only committed 2 fouls in Houston, then I'm like, I'm never conspiracy theory, but it's like, that's when you're gonna know, like, okay, the refs are too involved. Yeah,
it's a business. You know, Dylan Brooks has hit 40% of his threes this season for the first time in his career. But out of all the regular Rockets that play, so not your Jock Lindales and people like that, but your regular Rockets, there's only one other player that's above 35% from three. So if you have to chase points, I don't know if the Rockets can do it. Now,
yeah, but give me one dude on the Warriors that's over 6'8" that's going to stop you inside the paint.
All right, hold on. We're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
So that now, I know the Rockets have been running out this lineup lately with Shagun and Steven Adams out there. So theoretically, you have to play Kevon Looney. But how long can you play Kevon Looney? That's the question because he doesn't give you enough offense. You
They give
know,
you enough offense, and he we people talk about those old Warriors teams, and it's something that I was thinking about already because I feel like the absence of a big. I think a big and an NFL running back are treated the same way. It's like people act as if paying them is like you can't pay a big this much, he doesn't shoot threes. You can't pay a running back this much, he doesn't catch, he doesn't catch 1,000 yards worth of receiving yards. But when it comes down to it, where in the playoffs, the edge you need is going to be physicality. The running back is the definition of how physical your running game is. The definition of how physical you are as a football team. Your ability to defend the paint is a definition of how physical you are as an NBA team. Because a dude can just straight up miss a three.
yeah.
The likelihood of an NBA player going 4 for 10 inside the paint is very unlikely, uncontested. But a guy can be wide open for 10 threes and still go 4 for 10 in an NBA game or get 10 good looks. You give a guy 10 good looks 5 to 7 feet from the hoop, he's probably knocking down 7 of those easy. Any player,
Yeah.
even if
So
a guy doesn't shoot a lot. So Golden State not having that presence, at least not being able to sustain it because they can't play Kevon Looney for that long because he gives you nothing on the other end.
so
So
I just need the Rockets to not go 0 for 27 from 3. How's that for a callback?
yo,
But
just pump fake and lay up. Like, listen,
but
James, tell these dudes to pump fake and lay it up. That's all I was saying back
but
then,
see
and I'll
now
say the
now
same
this is
thing
the
now.
problem, right? So I brought up the lineup with Shagun and Steven Adams on the floor at the same time. So you
Correct.
still got Jabari Smith, who's 6'10 as well, but he's lanky and can do all the dribble things, the low budget KD stuff.
Yeah.
So but this is the problem. So the Warriors have a lineup that when they're on the floor together, they're the sixth best defense in the NBA. But this is the problem. That lineup is Steph Curry, Pajimski, Jimmy Butler, Moody, and Draymond, which goes back to your original point
Like you
of
said, Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler just got there.
I know, but that goes
So
back to
ranking them
that
as
goes
the
back to your
sixth
point.
best defense is
Yeah,
kind of fool's gold because it was literally less than a quarter of the season.
right. And it goes back to your point of who's the defender that's over 6'8". That's going. So you got to put Kevon Looney on the floor. Quentin Post is big as far as he's bigger than them, but he's
Yeah.
not necessarily a big body as a center. But you might need him to stretch the floor and pull one of Shagun and Adams out of the paint. But the problem is that he has even less experience than the Rockets do.
Yeah, and
So
none of those. Listen, none of the Warriors shoot. None of the guys outside of your core like shoot. Like Gary Payton literally was at the rim, caught the ball in the air, and threw a two-handed overhead pass to Buddy. Like just lay the ball up.
right.
Just you're right there, but it's like it's ingrained in them not to do that. Just to look for the three. And it's like you're right at the rim, lay the ball up.
And then
Yeah,
last
the Warriors
question.
are gonna get beat badly. In this. I'm
And
going Warrior. I'm going to Houston in 5. I'm not even gonna play around with it. Houston in
so
5.
so so
Gentlemen sweep.
so
Like
last
I don't even know
thing.
why we're playing around with this
I'm
as a
playing
sports
around
media
with it. I'm
pundit,
playing
as
around
a
with it.
sports media culture and society. We are literally trying to act as if a man in a fist fight with one hand has a chance against a guy with two
Hold
big,
on, I'm gonna tell
strong
you why
ass
I'm playing.
hands.
I'm gonna tell you why I'm playing around with it. So my last question though is, what's Jimmy Butler's motor at this point? Because he's got the bum leg, even though he was getting all the free throws the other night. But he's older, so you're not going to get that Jimmy Butler from the bubble. You're not getting that guy anymore. So,
Yeah,
how-
August. We
so,
halfway
so
through 2025.
I know
These
that's what
dudes
I'm
are old
saying.
as
Like
fuck.
that motor is done. So with that being said, look, we saw this last year, or was it 2 years ago, whichever year it was. Warriors and Kings, new kids on the block. The Kings could score with the Warriors, but couldn't stop them. Steph put up 50 in game 7. You know what I mean? So when I look at
He
this,
also had Jordan Poole that could actually make the defense adjust. He had Clay that can make the defense adjust. There's not a
I
single
was about to
person
say
on the
that, but you
Golden
cut me
State or
off.
my bad.
I was about to say
Just
that.
thinking.
I was
We
just
need to
about to
stop
say
playing
something.
around.
I was just
Houston
about
gonna
to
beat the
say
brakes off
something.
of Golden
I
State.
was just about to say something along those
All right,
lines.
here we
So
go.
what I
We've
was
done
going
this
to
show a
say,
lot, long time.
so
You know,
what
I'm
I was going
fired
to
up.
say, so what I was going to say was, this Warriors team is probably like not as good as that team. Houston doesn't have the offense that Sacramento had, but they have the defense that Sacramento didn't have. So I'm still going to give the Warriors 3 games in this series just based off of
What?
because I don't know what the refs
You
are going
got
to do.
7?
Yeah, I don't know what the refs are going to do. I told you, I don't know what
Man.
the refs are going to do. Steph's going to have one game where he explodes. I don't know what the refs are going to
But he
do.
also is going to have a
And
game
we
where he
got
goes
and
4
we
for
got
13 and has
inexperience.
16 points.
And the Rockets are still inexperienced and don't know how to win yet. So they might lose a game, one of those Duke games, like that Duke Houston game. They might lose something like that. So I'm giving the Warriors 3. I'm taking the Rockets in 7 to meet up to
I mean, I
get to
got
the
the
second
Rockets
round.
in 5, man. I'm taking
Yeah.
Rockets in 5. I'm not even like it's
You taking the Lakers in 5?
over Minnesota.
Let's
Probably
get to
not.
it. Let's get
Probably
to it.
not. Probably not.
Okay, let's hear it.
And the same reason why I think Golden State's going to have problems is the same reason I think Minnesota. I mean, but I think Minnesota's going to give the Lakers problems. It's it's the conversation you and I had about Gabe Vincent, Dorian Finney-Smith. LeBron and Luka are going to consistently give you what they give you because there's 6 to 8 spots on the floor for both of them where they know I can make these infinite amount of things happen. Luka knows if he dribbles to this wing and he calls for this pick and roll, the defense has to do this. I'm going to make this happen because I'm that level of basketball player. LeBron, I'm this level of basketball player where I get to this spot. This defender is going to have to come guard me. I'm going to kick it to Austin Reeves. He's going to be open for the 3. I'm going to be able to kick it to the corner to Gabe Vincent. Those 2 guys know that. The issue for me always will be the role players that don't give you much on both ends. Rui gives you length and size and defense, and he's a slasher. He gets to the rim, gets you layups, decent free throw shooter. That's a bonus. Gabe Vincent, a guy you want in rotation because he's a shooter, he's not like a great on-ball defender. He doesn't average a bunch of steals. And if he's not knocking down that 3, you got to pull him out. Same thing with Dorian Finney-Smith. I know he has a great relationship with Luka. And if he's hot from 3, that's good. The problem is the Lakers are going to need 65 first half points to feel confident going in at halftime because your star, Luka, kind of always, he's not like super just athletically gifted where he can just kind of rev it back up. And LeBron's an older guy. So you can't go into halftime 57-54 and these guys got to come out at 100%, full speed starting the third. They got to work their way back in. So they're going to need to get to 60 points in the first half. The only way to get to 60 points in the first half is those guys knocking down 3s because they can't defend at the rim. They're a good team rebounding because, like, your guards are 6'8" and 6'9" with Luka and LeBron. So they get a lot of rebounds, but it's not a lot of defense at the rim. LeBron's not protecting the rim. Jackson Hayes is not a big body. I just feel like Minnesota falls in love with the 3, then I think the Lakers will be fine. But if they decide, you know what, we're gonna attack the paint, we're gonna attack some of these mismatches we have 1-on-1. Guys are gonna hunt Luka in the pick and roll. I just feel like it's
All
more
right,
of a
so
toss
quick
up.
question before I jump in here. Who does Anthony Edwards guard in this series? Does he guard Austin Reeves?
I put him on Austin Reeves.
Okay. All right. So this is my thing, right? So I actually want to pick Minnesota to win this series, but I can't do it because they got somebody on their team.
Yeah.
And
they got a guy that you feel doesn't make winning basketball plays in crunch time.
And it's not even about, just, hey, he sucks or anything like that. But in his career so far, he just hasn't been there in the playoffs. He just hasn't shown up.
And
So,
Rudy Gobert does get hunted too. So
right. So that's what I was about to bring up because you talked about how the Lakers don't have the rim protection. But I don't know outside of Ant, I don't know if Minnesota has anyone that's just going to be challenging the rim. You know,
well, I think Gobert can challenge the rim because that's what he does
I mean,
well.
he catches
I
lobs
just
and
really,
stuff, but I don't think he's going to be posting up and turning and hitting hook shots and stuff
I'm
like
talking
that.
about the Lakers defensively at the rim.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Like
talking
on
about.
yeah,
Like,
but I'm just saying but I'm talking about Ant slashing down Nas Reed. I'm just talking about like those plays when they kind of break down or like the pick and roll, like the guy doesn't show well or something like that, and they can get to the paint because you're not going to shoot 75 threes. You're gonna have to get into the paint
so I think if I'm
and
the
shoot your
Lakers,
shots.
if
I
I'm the
just think you can get
Lakers,
over to the rim on the Lakers.
if I'm the Lakers, I'm letting Ant average 37. Like, I'm not letting anybody else get anything
You're
remotely close
staying
to high.
glued, the Steve Nash approach.
Yeah, and so, but if I was Minnesota,
You
what I
let
think
Luca cook or you let LeBron cook.
you got to force LeBron to cook you. I think, just because of his age, you got to
I don't
force
think
him
that's the part. I don't. The
because
Lakers are
Luka is
probably the one
already.
team where I don't think you could do it.
They
Just
might be.
because,
They might be.
Luca's gonna get. He's gonna get to his spot. Even if you try to like just let him
Yeah,
do it.
or Jalen McDaniels. I remember him trying to guard Luka last year.
So he's gonna get to his spot. He's gonna get
Jaden, I mean, yeah.
and he shoots the ball from everywhere. Like I said, the same thing with LeBron. So that's the advantage that they have is that both of them can get you. You can get 49 to 52 points from those two guys off of just everything they know pregame.
So I
Just not even
wonder.
the flow of the game. Like you just know, like, hey, LeBron and Luka will get us 20,
I
26,
wonder
28 to
if.
24.
So I wonder if it's counterproductive because you were talking about the Lakers' lack of rim protection. But
Yeah.
I wonder if it might be a little more advantageous for Minnesota to go small and try to push the pace, because
They
because
but they
but
can't they won't be able to defend it
but
all
the
if they go
but the
small.
problem is outside of that, the problem is this ain't Memphis Mike Conley that we're talking about. So,
Yeah.
so small, I'm guessing would be Conley, Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, and Nas Reed. I feel like that would probably be your small lineup.
The
You know what I'm saying?
problem
So
with
you
that
have the
is that
ability to stretch them out, but like you said, you don't want Minnesota to fall in love with the three,
they're going to probably fall in love with the three.
and that's
And
going to be their demise.
the advantage that the Lakers have and why I would pick the Lakers over Minnesota, even though I think the Lakers, their interior defense, because of just the lack of just a big body where LeBron and Luka don't have to be the one looking for rebounds. Just a guy like Steven Adams, when that ball goes up, he's likely to come down with the rebound. But him and Shingu in Houston. Same thing with like even Draymond in Golden State. Or just like DeMont Sabonis in Sacramento. Some teams just know, like, yo, my guy down there is too big. He's going to get the rebound. Jackson Hayes doesn't give you that same kind of confidence. So that's one thing, because defensive rebound is part of defense as well.
Right.
The problem that Minnesota's going to have is that they don't have the luxury of doing what the Lakers can do as far as like, yo, we going to let Ant put up 26 shots if he wants to. But Nas Reed, you get 8 contested shots. Every 3-pointer you put up, it's going to be Austin Reeves in your face, Rui in your face. Even if we got to put Gabe Vincent on you, just another body, a rock in your shoe, just on you. Whereas you try to do that with the Lakers, LeBron's going to take 4 straight possessions and get 8 points because he sees it
Do you
coming.
think?
He knows what's coming. So he's going to take the ball down. Like, let me get to my spot, get these 4 quick layups, get 8 points, make them call a timeout, make them shove their strategy up, and now I'm gonna let Luka cook. That's the
Do you
difference.
think
Why they
that
can't do
White
it.
Dante can semi-match Austin Reeves?
No, because I think the confidence that Reeves has from playing with LeBron for so many years, he knows LeBron knows when Austin's on one, and Austin knows when LeBron is like, yo, I'm chilling. You do you. Like, hey, look, right now for this next 2-3 possessions, I'm decoying in the corner. You take whoever guarding you one on one. Me and Luka gonna be chilling. But 8 seconds left in the shot clock. Your shot ain't right. Get it to me and him, and we'll make something happen. I think that's the advantage that they have is that he has so much confidence, and he doesn't play with like you're giving me confidence. He's playing with his confidence, and they're recognizing it. Whereas like sometimes like Ant might just be feeding the ball to Nas Reed, and he starts feeling, or he feeds the ball to McDaniels, he starts feeling it. Austin Reeves know like JJ Redick's going to call right up, draw plays for him when the score is 22-22, in the first quarter, something like that. Like he knows, like, hey, I'm part of this.
Yeah.
I'm not an afterthought.
So give me the grape and urine in 6.
Bean pies, apple pies, Lakers at 5. Yeah, I'm gonna say. I mean, Lakers at 5 sounds excessive, but like I said, if they switch Gobert onto Luka at any point in Game 1, Lakers at 5
Chris got to get fired if that happens.
If they do it, if it's 88-88 and it's been like a back and forth thing, and they, JJ Redick calls a timeout, and Luka has the ball, and they call that switch, and Gobert switches out on them, and if they do that, then Lakers at 5 is a realistic thing. Lakers at 5 sounds funny, but like 6 is more realistic, so I'm gonna say Lakers at 6.
Okay. Then we got little brother LA. Starting off a series with the maybe MVP Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray's back. He's been kind of awful these last 2 games. 11 of 28 overall.
He's a weird player. He's good and he looks good, but he's like never made an all-star team.
Mm-hmm. And
it's strange for how good he looks when he's on.
You got the Clippers riding high, after that win against Golden State the other day. It may be a little bit too long off for them to ride that momentum into Game 1. But Mr. Logical, taking the Clippers.
That's sure. I would. You know me, I'm always like, I'm trying to fill out like the continuity of the teams. I don't know if Denver has the continuity you need for the playoffs.
Okay.
I think allegedly the reported rumors were Malone was kind of really inundated and just really to a fault respected Westbrook's career and his energy, and it kind of rubbed players the wrong way. I just have a feeling in those crunch time moments, Russ is going to step up and want to be the leader, get people motivated. And when people don't really rock with you in that huddle and you're trying to lead them, it's going to like turn it, and it's petty. Yeah, it's petty.
Yeah.
Whereas when, another cross sports reference, a lot of the New England players said when they were down 28-3 and Tom Brady was talking to them about, we're going to win this game. Like, Julian, like, yo, people really believed it. Like, the sideline really believed it. And then when they got it to like, what was it, 28-9, and then like 20, like when they started to score, it was like they really started to believe,
like, hey,
what he was saying. Yeah, so they really believed it. I just feel like if Russ does that, people already kind of like, especially if the reports are true, how like rumors are.
Right.
I just feel Jokic could have a big series, but Zubac is big enough and kind of moves at the same pace as Jokic, so he could.
Well, I'm glad you said that. Of all the players that have guarded Jokic for at least 30 minutes this season, Zubac has held him to the lowest percentage.
So, like, that could be tough because frustration is going to set in. Kawhi is going to be physical. Chris Dunn's going to be physical. James Harden's going to be kind of herky-jerky, maybe give you a silly foul call and, like, kind of just – so I want to pick the Nuggets, but I just have a feeling that firing your coach that late in the season because of internal turmoil with the players, I just feel like that has to impact their playoff performance, and I think they're going to lose this series, probably in 6. Off of that, because I think Tyronn Lue, he has guys locked in. They're 9-1 their last 10 games. They're locked in.
So I got Clippers in 6, but I'm not going to use any of the reasons that you said.
Okay.
I got different reasons. You know what I mean? Like they all apply. Like your reasons are good, but I got other reasons, and that's why I'm picking the Clippers because I think I just have too many advantages here. So one, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but the coaching matchup, Ty Lue against
A guy
Adelman.
who just got his job
Yeah.
beginning of this month.
So
Yeah.
that's number one. Number two, you remember I always talk about the 2008 finals where, Paul Pierce gets the credit for guarding Kobe a lot, but they had James Posey and Keon Clark, and they were just throwing the bodies at Kobe, right?
Correct.
So the Clippers have, Chris Dunn, Amir Coffey,
Resurrected his career.
yeah, Amir Coffey, Nick Batum, Ben Simmons. You could get Harden a few minutes just for breathers or whatever if you need those. Norm Powell, that you can all put on Jamal Murray. So if Jamal Murray goes off at any point,
And we know he gets cold and then he gets hot.
yeah.
So if he's cold and
But I
you
got
and you
five
found the
dudes
right
I can
guy,
throw at you that all come with different things.
I got the right one on you. Yeah.
Right. And they all come with different advantages. Batum, the long arms in the defense, Ben Simmons, can force you into
Experience.
spaces, so like I got different reasons. So then will the real Michael Porter please stand up? Where he at? Milk bottle status.
He got that Gabe Vincent effect. Like if you're not knocking down the three, what are you giving me?
So if I'm the Clippers, the number one rule is I need Jokic on the bench. So I'm coming at your chest every time because you're not a shot blocker. So
you think you're going to get him 2 cheap fouls?
I'm gonna try to because the Nuggets are minus 9.3 with him off the floor. You know what I'm saying?
I think he'll give you the layup.
Worst defensive, maybe, but that's even better. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna give me the layup, I'll take that all day too. Kawhi didn't play against the Nuggets this year, so they don't have that to to prepare for, I guess. Like that's another new element. So Denver to win this series is going to have to get a lot of transition. That transition comes from Christian Brown, but I don't know if he can get off against these guys either. So Russ, you brought up Russ. We know if nothing else, he is going to physically sabotage at least one game in this series, trying to be the hero. Like you talked about him from the huddle experience. I'm talking about him taking a shot that he don't need to take. Missing a layup, bad errant pass at the worst time.
I think Russ would. I don't think he'll take like a bad shot. I just think he'll go 4 for 7. He'll go 5 for 17.
Yeah, and that's the problem. If he takes 17 shots, like at least 14 of them are bad. And then
especially if your theory of getting Jokic on the bench, he's the guy. And I imagine that Edelman, the interim coach, probably has a similar level of respect for Russ. And probably is going to play him more
minutes, you know what I'm saying? And he deserves it. So, I mean,
unless, like I said, if he was kind of in line with the tune and the tone of the locker room, and he's like, hey, I'm going to give Russ these minutes with Jokic because I think Jokic can make it work with Russ. And then I'm going to bring Russ and Jokic to the bench together.
So the magic number.
If he has a good smart move, like if he gets his Tyronn Lue on and he makes a good smart move like that, the baby. But if he doesn't, then it's gonna backfire.
So the magic number is 20. When Jamal Murray scores 20 points this season, the Nuggets are 24-11 and 11. When they don't, they're 17 and 15.
How was your shooting guard not getting 20 in that offense when the center is getting 11 assists?
Injuries and off year, so it is what it is. So let's take it to the East. So we'll take it from the top. Boston and Orlando. Mr. Logical, I'm feeling crazy right now.
Word.
Yeah. Give me Orlando in 6. No, I'm just playing. But I am going to give Orlando 2 games. I think that Orlando is the gift and the curse. Because we always talk about like Donovan Mitchell got to try to get to the basket through Brown and Tatum, and then you got Porzingis waiting for you down there too. But Orlando actually has the dudes that can match up physically with Tatum and Brown, Franz Wagner and Banchero. But the problem is, one problem is I don't even know if Jaylen Brown's playing in this series or if he's starting the series at the very least. All right. So we know that Boston is going to shoot themselves out of a game. They didn't even sweep that Heat team last year without Jimmy Butler.
They hit 23 threes one game.
I know it happens, right?
It took 23 threes.
But I also think that Orlando plays defense good enough to bother Boston. Jason Tatum actually didn't play against Orlando this year, somehow. Or I'm sorry, he didn't play in 2 of the 3 games. So there's something to watch out for, like another element. Can Orlando stop him? But I think that this can get a little spicy if Orlando, my magic number for this is 106. I don't have a stat to back it up, but I just don't think Orlando can score 106. So if they do score 106, either Boston scored 140 or Orlando's got a chance to sneak a win. So the moment might be too big for Cole Anthony and Anthony Black, even though without Jalen Suggs for the season, that's a big injury. Without him there, Anthony Black gets minutes that'll benefit Orlando, but next year,
forward,
in the year after that, not right now. So look, Boston is just too damn good. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. Like I'm giving Orlando 2 off of the strength of their defense and Boston just having a bad shooting game at least once.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Orlando 1 just because I think they'll squeeze 1, maybe game 3 at home. Maybe even game 4. Boston might be up 3-0. Yeah,
they'll go up 3-0 and then lose game.
They'll go up 3-0, probably lose game 4, and then Boston will close it out. Up here in the Northeast. It just, like I said, I'm all about understanding like team dynamics and like the structure of a team. I just believe Boston has a team where roles are clearly defined and the roles that the people are in fit them. Yeah. Sometimes roles can be clearly defined and not fit, i.e. Phoenix. Like your role is clearly defined. Like this is what I want you to do, but you don't play to that expectation. You want to do something different. That's, like I said, that's what I feel about Denver, because your role is kind of defined through the coaching staff, and having essentially a new coach in charge for less than a couple of weeks, I'm not sure if he can carve out enough real estate to understand, like, okay, Russ, this is what you're doing. Jamal Murray, this is what I need you to do, so forth and so on, down to the role players. I think Boston's role players clearly understand what the green light is, what the defensive strategy is, who to rotate to, who to defend the dribble drive to, like who's responsible for this when this happens and this when this happens, to the point where offensively they're going to move the ball around to where this is a good shot. You got the guy, Cornette in the middle, that just like, hey, I'm here to just be a big body, a presence. He will never get the ball and crossover dribble at the top of the key. It will never happen. He gets the pass, he sets the dribble handoff screen, and he rolls to the hoop. And if the lob comes to him, he jumps up, catches it, dunks it. If not, he tries to rebound. He gets the rebound. He kicks it out the pitcher. And this is the second unit. So to have that kind of fluidity with the second unit, it's like it's not much you can do when the second unit is being talked about in conversation on a talk show. Like, we're literally talking about how effective their second unit is and how well they operate. I don't think many teams have that level of, just depth. And I think that's the boss. But like you said, they will give away one game because Orlando's just going to go 8 from 3. They'll go something like 21 for 48, and Boston's going to go 6 for 32.
Yeah.
And then they're going to go back home and close it out.
So then in the trendy upset pick, We got those bad boys coming from Motor City, Detroit, going into the Garden. Mr. Logical. I would say if I've heard 20 people talk about this series, I've heard about 13 of them pick Detroit. You joining the train.
Uh, being that I'm in the tri-state area, I know when you jump on like a trendy upset, it normally means that it's been kind of exacerbated, like the extent of how good Detroit is versus New York. I just look at the history of Tibbs teams in the playoffs. I just feel as if the way they play is like an injury culmination that occurs in the postseason. I think Detroit plays smart. I think their coach is playing with a chip on his shoulder after getting fired out of Cleveland last year. I think he has some plan with the level of confidence. Malik Beasley is their sixth man of the year. He's their second best player, but he's coming off the bench. Um, this one's going to go 7, and I don't want to like flip flop, but I have a feeling that the Knicks are going to lose a guy just from exhaustion. Just a guy playing.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. I just feel like a guy's just going to play way too many minutes one game and won't be as spry the next game. Because like these early games are every other day. So they'll probably tip off on the East Coast 7:05, 7:30, maybe 8. So you're gonna have Josh Hart playing. We got 48 minutes in the NBA game. He's probably gonna play 44 and a half. Jalen Brunson's probably gonna play 40, 41.
And he just got back from injury.
OG's gonna play 40. Like all of them are gonna play 40 minutes. And it's like, I think that could take a toll, especially with a physical team like Detroit. But because Detroit doesn't have like a second guy that starts that, same argument I have for Golden State not having that third guy. I'm gonna go with the Knicks. I'm going to Knicks in 7, but it wouldn't surprise me if Detroit edged out because just a guy just misses game 4 because he just played fucking 45 minutes 3 games in a row.
How many fingers you got on your right hand?
5.
Give me Knicks in 5. So, like, this is the thing. Cade Cunningham's going to have a field day. Against the Knicks this year, he's 31-5 with 8 assists, 56% from the floor, 52 from 3. And this is why. Because obviously you can't necessarily guard him with Jalen Brunson, right? So I think about this, right? So let's just say I'm going to throw some names out there. So you got Josh Hart, you got OG Anunoby, you got Mikal Bridges. Cade Cunningham is their size, but he's a point guard. So, so he's going to go to work.
And he weighs more.
Yeah, he weighs more. But I don't know who that second person coming through the door is. I know Malik Beasley. You talked about him.
Yeah.
Second in the league in 3-pointers this year. So they're going to need that. But I still need more, right? Because Anunoby on a given night could get you 27. Mikal could get you 30.
Also on a given night miss a game because he played 44 and a half minutes in a game where they're up by 16.
Definitely.
And he's still on the floor.
Bridges could give you 30.
Bridges is super healthy, though. Like, Bridges doesn't miss any time at all, ever.
Brunson could give you 30. Josh Hart can grab 15 rebounds.
But Brunson, he plays, like, I'd hate to harp on his injuries, but we just saw it happen. Last year, in the series against Philly, when they could have closed it out at home, and Tyrese Maxey went 8 and hit like 8 points in the last 30-something seconds, something
Reggie
crazy
Miller
like that.
Style, yeah.
Yeah, it was like that was my problem with the Knicks. Is like you had a hobbled Joel Embiid put up 50. He couldn't go to his right.
You never doubled him.
He's a right-handed basketball player who couldn't go to his right. He weighs 300 pounds, and you were letting him shoot 23-foot threes from the top of the key with no one running his face. Knock him over. Like, just put it like Tibbs. There's a dude down there in New Jersey. Just put him in the game to defend Embiid. And if
Yeah.
Embiid gets around him, bump him.
And make them
Make
pick his
him
big ass
roll.
up.
Make him roll on the floor and get up.
Yeah.
Get 2 fouls on him and take that guy out. But give Josh Hart fucking 5 minutes. But it's like you never employed that. And that's the thing I think was going to happen. I think Tibbs is one of these guys like, listen, the overhand right's going to land. I'm going to keep throwing it. And they're like, yo, coach, can we just throw this jab real quick? No, the overhand right's going to land. We're going to keep throwing it. And eventually it will land. But if you keep missing and you getting jabbed back, that's the part. I just don't think he adjusts well. And I think in those games where, like that game where they could have closed out in the guard in front of Patrick Ewing, he didn't make adjustments, and they end up going back to Philly.
And we didn't even mention Big Kitty yet. You know, he can get you 30 on a given night. Even though he doesn't normally show up in the playoffs. So that's what you're hoping for if you're Detroit, is that he continues to be what he is, right? So in the regular season, Detroit went 3-1 against the Knicks. But one of those games was without Kitty and Mitchell Robinson. Another one of those games was without Hart, Anunoby, and Mitchell Robinson. So now you got to deal with the Knicks full time. But to your point, do they have the gas in the tank? That's the only question I have in this series. I think they should win this series rather easily, just because I think Cade Cunningham he's the only one that should get off.
Yeah. The easy part is like I think that's they should win it easily. I just watched them make the Philly series more difficult than it needed to be. And then I watched them lose to the Pacers when they shouldn't have. The Pacers proved really tough. Like I said, they almost knocked off Boston in game 1. But I just feel like the strategy of play till your heart explodes is going to have a negative impact for Coach Tibbs.
Right. So speaking of the Pacers, they got Milwaukee in what's becoming, I guess, a bit of a rivalry, 5-5 in their last 10 against each other. Indiana 8, Milwaukee 7 in the last 15. The Pacers knocked them out the playoffs last year, but of course, there wasn't a lot of Giannis or Dame in that series. So We already got word that Dame's not playing game 1, but he will be back at some point during the series. The Bucks just got Bobby Portis back from his suspension. I loved his quote talking about, I've been robbed, I've been this and that, been suspended. Like
my grandma died.
Yeah, like let's just play ball. Like, so I like that focus. Of course, where I'm gonna start with my problems. My problems is the midwife, Glenn Rivers. One, is he going to play the right people? Because I saw Pat Connaughton go off of 43-11 the other day. It's like, okay, like, why don't you deploy him a little bit more? They're going to have to rely on Kyle Kuzma, Gary Trent, Kevin Porter Jr., who, has been playing well lately, but we're talking about the playoffs now. I think that Indiana has a player that is just so underappreciated. He goes by the name of Pascal Siakam. He's an NBA champion. I know Kawhi was the leader. I know Kawhi gets the credit, but Pascal played a great series in that series, and he never gets the credit for it.
He never had to guard Kevin Durant.
Yeah, he had to guard Kevin Durant.
He never had to guard.
That's what I meant to say. He was he was doing up Draymond is what I meant to say.
There's no ring. There's no ring at Kevin Durant. Keep going.
So this is the problem Indiana's going to run into. You know what I mean? So Siakam, guarded Giannis at some point over 130 possessions this season. And I got this from Yahoo Sports. About 130 possessions this season. A total of 27 minutes total. When he was being guarded by Siakam, Giannis went 22 for 33.
66%.
66%. So that's the problem that the Pacers are going to run into, because Giannis is already a load to try to stop, by itself. But then
he dunks shots that they should be finger rolls. Yeah, they should be finger rolls, and it's like, how did you? You can't
put Miles Turner on him. You know what I mean? You can't. So like I don't know
And
if
you
you.
can't build a wall like people said you should be able
Yeah,
to do.
like I
Because
don't know
that's
if you
just
play around with the lineups and tinker a little bit. Maybe you guard him. You put some athleticism on him and guard him with Obi Toppin. I know that Halliburton has been playing back to where he was last year before the injury over the last couple of months or so. Very quiet. You already know. Obviously, I'm picking the Pacers to win this series because I picked the Pacers to beat Cleveland in the second round. So, but this is going 7. This is
yeah.
going 7. And
That's the one I agree with.
okay, let me back up a little bit. It depends on when Dame comes back. If Dame is back for game 2, then Milwaukee might find themselves down 2-0 because they got to reintegrate him back into the offense, and he's got to get his basketball rhythm back. And that's a lot. I know he's a vet, but that's a lot to ask in a playoff series against a
Well, I
team
think
that
a guy like Dame, like how we talked about Luca, I think Dame is the guy that they'll just run a pick and roll and he'll shoot the 3 from 28 2 or
I
3
know, but I
times.
need him to be in rhythm though.
That's what no. They'll like, listen, just go out there, early pick and roll, just pull up from 27, see if it goes in. If they go in, try it again. And then if you do that 3 times, eventually they're gonna have to jump out and guard you, keep your dribble, get in line, get in the paint, get bumped, get to the free throw line. I think he'll be able to get in rhythm early because I think his game is very fluid.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very, he doesn't overthink it, he doesn't overdo it, he doesn't, like Ja seems to always be aggressively attacking the hoop and gets knocked down. Dame just seems to be under control a lot. Like even if he comes off that pick and roll, stop, get you on his hip. A lot like how Trae Young plays.
All right,
With a little bit more control. I just think the Giannis factor, like sometimes I know in the NBA we have team versus player, but sometimes just rolling the ball out there and having the best player on the floor is your advantage.
okay.
And I think Giannis, I think his ability to just go to he plays a way that says to you as a defense, this guy isn't enough. Whoever you put on me isn't enough. And if you roll another guy to me and I can get around him too, now I know you guys can't fuck with me. And it's gonna be one of those 34, 8, like 34, 11 rebounds, 8 assists kind of series for Giannis.
All right. So to close this out, sounds like we both got Pacers in 7.
No, I got Bucks.
Oh, you got
I
Bucks
got
in
Bucks.
7.
I got
Okay.
Bucks in 7. Because like
Okay,
I said,
Bucks. Okay.
I think Giannis just off just strength of being Giannis can get you one in Indiana, and you're going back to Milwaukee. Say Dame doesn't play. Say they want Dame to stay at his house in Milwaukee and rest.
Be ready for game 3.
Be ready for game 3. I think that information, understand, like, listen, Giannis, we're riding you for the next 2 games. Lead us to victory. We're going to get Dame back in game 3, home game, home crowd, energy, all the stuff to kind of take the jitters away. He's going to knock down a couple of big threes, and then they're going to be off and rolling. I just have a feeling like I just don't have the faith in Indiana, because I think they're a lot like the Knicks, where it's just like you're going to have a good run, but I don't think you're dynamic enough to just like overcome another team's best player, just really fire it off.
Okay. All right. So as we close this up, I got a couple of rapid fire questions for you.
Let's hear it.
Is Dame Lillard overrated?
No, because I'm not sure where do people have him rated? He's in the top 75, right?
Yeah. Which I don't think he should be in, but
I mean, who would you put in? Like Dwight Howard. I think if you took him out, you put Dwight Howard. But I think in the same case, someone would be like, well, you could slide Anthony Davis out because just as an individual player.
No, Tony Parker should have probably been in there.
As an individual player, was Tony Parker really that guy? Was he just really good catalyst on that team? Really similar. Like Tim MVP. Duncan was that guy.
He's got a finals MVP.
So does Andre Iguodala. He's not in the top 75.
You know that wasn't the same, though. Tony Parker's MVP ain't the same as Iguodala's. All right. Second question. What is the best that the Pelicans can get for Zion?
Ooh. Trying to think.
Because I don't imagine you're getting a first round pick for him.
You're absolutely getting the first. You're getting a better deal for Zion than Dallas got for Luca. Just if I'm a GM, if I'm the Pelicans GM, I'm not accepting anything less than what
Oh,
Dallas
you,
got.
you know who the Pelicans' new president of basketball operations is, right?
Joe Dumars.
Oh, Dumars,
You
another
think he hooks up
retread.
his old? You think he hooks up his old team?
Maybe. Maybe.
You're gonna get a haul. I imagine, like I said. So Luca went for 80. Who else is in that
Max
package?
Christie.
Max Christie,
But the Lakers also got um, the Morris twin.
one of the Morris twins.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I imagine that. I mean, I don't know who would like. I personally wouldn't trade for Zion because like
Okay.
there's not. But I figure that if I'm a GM, if I'm the Pelicans GM, I'm not taking a worse deal than whatever the consensus is on the status of that deal. However, the GMs rate the deal between LA and Dallas to make the AD Luka trade happen. I'm not taking anything anywhere near that. My shit's gonna be way more upper echelon than that at a minimum. Even if I don't think we deserve it, I'm not taking anything close to that because you're not gonna be firing me in the stadium and the chanting that game one.
Is tomorrow Trey Young's last game as a Hawk?
Absolutely,
No question.
no question about it. Because it's like he's been there with 7 seasons. They made the one Eastern Conference Finals. I'm not sure if they were patient enough to build a team around him or if they were too quick to pull the trigger and move bodies away. But it doesn't seem as if they're building not even a contender, but
Well, I
just
think
like
right now you
an
have
upper
to.
echelon contending team. Like not like, oh, this team's gonna win the championship, but can you get me a team where we can consistently be playing for 51 or 52 wins?
Well,
Can
I
I go
think. Well,
52
I
and
think at
30?
this point, you have to build around Shea. You drafted him number one. He showed you some flashes late in the season that I don't know if he can develop the way that you would want him to with Trey there. That's number one. Number two, I've been talking about these aprons and luxury taxes and all this kind of stuff. So you've got Shea on a young deal, obviously right now because he's a rookie,
Correct.
but you got to fill in the rest of the roster at some point, like as well. So Trey Young's contract probably makes that hard to do. So I think you have
Well,
to
with the
come up with.
NBA contracts, they're a little easier, but I think he's the only one getting the major deal. Yeah, like I said, I just
He
don't
is, but
feel
you put
like
a cap on yourself what you could bring in because you got to think about what fits with him versus, Ricochet.
he that's the thing. He's one of the league leaders in assists for like the last 5 years.
He is.
Between 10 and 12 assists. Like so you're getting opportunities off of his play. It's not as if he's a like SGA
No,
only
but
averages about 5 assists.
no, but it's that thing, right? You keep running into the wall and expecting that you're going to knock it down at some
But
point.
I don't think Trey Young is the reason you're running to the wall. I think
No,
you're
he's
you're
not.
running
But
into the wall because you're not putting the pieces around him that
maybe because I mean
consistently
he's
can
still a
compete.
little guard, you know what I mean? Like so he's doing what he's doing and he's an awesome player. I'm not trying to take that away from him. But the league is kind of getting away from dudes like him as far as like height wise and
Yeah,
all that
it's a
stuff.
lot. Yes, it's. I mean, all the
So
sports are
so
doing it. Like
so
we
is the
talked
juice
about
worth the
baseball, the
squeeze?
average guy's like
Like
6'3", 220
so
that's getting
so so
drafted into
can he
baseball.
score enough to balance out his defensive inequalities?
Well, yeah. If I'm a 28 and if I'm 28 points and 10 assists, you're thinking maybe half of those are three. So I'm anywhere between. I'm getting you 48 to 58 points a night just off me being on the floor. Me, one person. I'm creating 58 points potentially every single night I'm out there. You just got to get like the rookie that you draft has to work out. You know what I mean? Like it has to fit what we are doing as an offense. Because I don't think he slows it down. Like I said, the amount of assists that he averages is proof that he's moving the ball around. if he was averaging 32 and a half and 5 assists and they won 37 games, it's like, okay, you're literally just shooting the ball up as much as you want. But he's an efficient player. He's just small and he's good. And they had that run to the Eastern Conference Finals. And now that's their new floor. At least for the couple years after that. But they never built anything around it. It's like, okay, we got this floor now. This is where we are. And it's like, no, you need to maintain that. But they just got rid of pieces. They traded guys to Utah. They fired the coach. They brought in a new coach. It's like you have to look yourself in the mirror as an organization and say, are we doing right by our star player? And if not, make a move, start over. There's nothing wrong with starting over. Just, like I said, just don't be so tied up with the Luka deal. Just get a better deal than Luka in Dallas. That's all you got to do. And your fans will be like, we'll get it.
Grizzlies, Mavs, who you got?
Grizzlies, Mavs. Does Ja want to go on vacation?
Like, I feel like I should take Memphis, but I just don't like the vibes right now.
Yeah, I'll take the Mavs. I think.
Okay,
people are done. Yeah,
is tomorrow night Ja's last game in a Grizzlies jersey?
I mean, if we're looking at this offseason's potentially Trae Young moving, Zion moving, and Ja Morant moving, I just don't know if there's enough teams that are like willing to kind of dismantle their team to bring in a guy and then pay him a lot of money. Because I think they're all due extensions within the next 12 months. Either if it's not this season, the conversation is going to happen next summer for at least all three of those players. Phoenix has old assets. I don't know if that move works. Chicago, maybe they're in the Ja Morant sweepstakes because I think they have enough.
He can't act right talent. In Memphis. He damn sure ain't gonna act right in Chicago.
Oh, he'll act right when somebody run up on him. he'll understand it's not cool just to be in certain parts. Doing whatever.
So if you were the Memphis GM and Atlanta called you and said, "I'll give you Trae Young for Ja," what would you tell them?
We'll make that work.
Okay,
we can make it work. Yeah,
and then last question.
You can keep your offense the same. You keep I'll make it work.
Last question. You changing your finals prediction?
Oh, my OKC Boston?
Yeah, since we doing our preview right now, you changing your finals, you changing the winner. Last chance.
I don't think I picked the winner yet. I don't think I picked the winner. I got OKC. I got OKC Boston, and I want to see how these first rounds go.
All right. Well, I'm still sticking with OKC over Boston, and hopefully it goes 7. So there you have it, folks. There's our playoff preview. We will be back on Tuesday. Saying shout out to Nico out here losing money probably.
Shout out to Nico for grabbing the bull by the horn. Sometimes it hits you, sometimes it nick you, but hold on, go for it. Like, listen, if you want to be where you want to be, don't let these people in the media shoot you down. Shout out. Still got that golden right arm and that long hair. Take it to Cali, get your commercials. You'll get your 1.7 million off of other stuff.
Shout out to Fran Brown because he ain't giving no wide receiver no damn $2 million.
Yeah, not out of state New York.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out
Buffalo Wings.
Shout out to the Cal Golden Bears because Ron Rivera was my head coach and I wanted to leave my team. So now that Ron Rivera is the GM at Cal, all these Cal players, all their running backs joined the transfer portal, all of them. So, good job, Ron. But we'll be back on Tuesday, y'all. Do the right thing and don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
He is Mr. Logical. I am 2-5. We love you. So like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things while you sipping on your liquid death. Peace.